Are we gonna be doing birthday and summer work today?
Absolutely.
Sounds like a fun thing and then a stinky thing.
Yeah.
Start with
Hopefully it's like a
a
cool project or
bouncy
something. Whoa.
castle.
I want to go in the bouncy castle. Alright,
Heck.
so it's not Cove's birthday like I thought it would be.
Huh.
It was a pleasant afternoon. The sun shone brightly and the breeze tugged lightly at the balloons strung around the park. You and Cove had just been dropped off at Miranda Eckert's birthday party. You don't really know Miranda. Last year was the first time you had a class with her, and everyone at school knew her as quiet. The shy girl stuck to her own friend group like glue. It had been a surprise that she was having such a big party. You looked over around the expansive park, a spacious recreation center in the next town over, and noticed a bouncy castle. Miranda had a bit of a reputation for not caring if she acted mature like other teens sometimes did. It made a certain amount of sense that her party would match that.
Thought Miranda was sweet. Thought she was weird. Didn't have any opinion of Miranda yet. Or wanted to get to know Miranda better.
I think the bottom two.
We'll try to get to know her better.
Yeah. Maybe at this party you'd have the chance to make friends with her. You were excited at the thought.
So we got invited, but we're not even friends with her?
I guess not.
Hmm.
You hadn't had a choice in coming here today. Your moms insisted on it after you got the invitation, as did Cove's mom and dad. So, both you and he were driven over to the next town with presents in tow. All the parents had been pretty firm about going to a birthday if you'd been invited.
You agreed it was best to attend. You wondered if it was an adult thing. You were happy to be here, wished you were somewhere else, felt out of place, or willing to give it a chance. I feel like out of place makes the most sense, but the bottom one's also okay.
Yeah, I like the bottom one. You had just arrived at the party, after all. You couldn't see the future. It could turn out to be fun, or it could be a disaster. You would wait and see. Cove made a small noise which caught your attention. He looked around, scanning the area. He fidgeted with his gift in hand. Any idea what we're supposed to do with these? You looked at your own present and then towards the seating area. There was a table filled with snacks and drinks, supplies for various party games. Past all that, you spotted one table in the back that seemed to have a truckload of gifts. You pointed it out to Cove.
Let's drop the presents off over there.
Cove shrugged. He didn't look interested in the subject, even if you had just answered his question. Alright. You moved forward and headed for the gift table. You followed with your present in hand. You walked past groups of people. Classmates in semicircles, broken up into the usual friends groups, chatted away. You, or maybe Cove, received the occasional greeting or friendly nod. However, as you passed by even more people that you had never seen before, you became aware that there were more strangers here than not. It was more crowded than you expected. Miranda Eckert, the quiet girl, was hosting the most populated birthday party you'd been to in a long time. You looked at the new faces and thought you saw something of Miranda in them. Cousins, nieces, nephews, maybe. Parties could be a big deal in her family. The both of you reached the table. You set your gift down in an empty space, brushing some confetti aside, and Cove placed his gently next to it. He looked at the present thoughtfully. Hey, what did you get her? Before you had the chance to answer, Cove opened his mouth again and tapped his gift. I found this sparkly backpack. I figured she could use it for school or a trip or something. Your moms had taken you out shopping the other day. You'd searched through the store and ultimately...
Picked out a stuffed animal, necklace, and bracelet set, lighthearted adventure book, yarn craft kit that made a toy, let your moms pick. Moms didn't appreciate what you had picked and chose something else. Maybe the yarn craft kit and it makes a toy?
Yeah, that could be fun. The colorful picture on the box appealed to you. It showed off the different variations you could make with the kit, along with the bolded messages of easy and 43 pieces included. Hopefully the kit was as cool as it looked. You described it to Cove briefly, and he had no objections.
Not bad.
Not a bad idea, but I don't know much about gifts. You both let that sit between you. Eventually you nodded.
Yeah, I get it.
Without the direction of needing to put stuff away, the two of you weren't sure what to do next. You felt a little awkward, and Cove shrunk in on himself as he looked around. There were more guests heading to the present table, so you turned away and wandered over to a nearby tree where you wouldn't be in the way. From there, you both inspected the area and planned the next step. You were glad that Cove had been invited too. At least you had his company in this unfamiliar place. You watched him, and he gave you a nervous grin. It reassured you a little that you smiled back.
What next?
Cove did not appreciate being put on the spot. He was just as unsure as you were. Birthday party stuff? It didn't seem to be time for cake, what with people still arriving. Nothing else seemed to be organizing it either. He noticed that himself and tried again. We could find Miranda? That was an idea. It made sense to greet the birthday girl.
Okay, we could say hello.
Wish her happy birthday.
Ask her what she wants people to do.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. With that point, it was decided. The Miranda hunt had begun. You wandered around. Anytime you saw someone with Miranda's hair color, you got a little closer, but more than once it turned out to not actually be her. Hey, look! Finally, he pointed over to the real Miranda. She smiled slightly when you both approached, but ducked her head. She seemed a little overwhelmed with being the center of attention today.
Hi, Cove. Hi, Ollie.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. I'm really glad you could come.
You all stood awkwardly. Miranda did seem genuinely happy, but there was still a distance between you. So, are people just supposed to stand around?
Well, you can talk to
Oh.
people if you want. There are games that are gonna start soon.
Why is she fully voice acted?
I don't know. Oh, never mind.
But not this.
Yep.
And the bounce house should be open later. If you feel like jumping, then after that, it's cake and present time. We'll have ice cream too. How did you feel, by the way, about like people publicly opening presents?
I thought it was fine, I guess.
I don't know, it makes me feel a little awkward.
Maybe a
After
little
that
bit.
is when people will start going home. I hope that's okay with you guys.
Cove nodded. He seemed a little more confident about the situation now.
Thanks for letting us know.
You grinned at her and she nodded back. Miranda waited there and you became hyper aware of the silence forming. You heard a shout for Randy, and Miranda brightened up, a total 180 of how stiff she had been with you.
I gotta talk to some more people. Bye.
Okay.
The birthday girl ran off to her friend, leaving you and Cove with a little more of an idea of what to expect. You both glanced at each other wordlessly. You felt a little disappointed. It was going to be hard to get to know Miranda better with how in demand she was probably going to be today. Hopefully you would get to talk with her later. All that was left now is finding something to fill the time until the activities began.
Try to chat with people, just talk to Cove, found a quiet spot to sit, or just stood around where you were. I don't know, maybe, I guess like the top 3 are okay, but maybe the top 2 would be more social.
Yeah, I agree.
Should we go with trying to talk to other people or talking with Cove?
I
I just worry that like when we say we tried to chat with people around, it makes it seem like we're abandoning Cove.
Oh, I was just under the impression that both of them would like chat with people together.
I don't know. I feel like it would be the opposite.
Could be. Maybe we just stay with Cove then. You started talking about how you felt about this kind of birthday party and what you wanted to do for your next party. Cove made the occasional suggestion. The conversation became silly. You started joking about ridiculous party ideas. Cove wanted a moon party, and you wondered if anyone had ever tried to make a cake big enough to be the party location. What? Suddenly, a loud voice
Party
boomed
on
over the
the cake.
crowd. Yeah. The constant buzz of conversation dropped as one of the adults, maybe Miranda's dad, asked the kids to gather around because it was game time.
Game time.
I wonder what's going to happen.
We shrugged, scanned the area to make a guess, or made a joke about something that wasn't going to happen. Maybe we just make a guess?
Yeah. You saw a picture of a donkey hung on a tree, a table with a lot of candy, and even more balloons.
How classic. I guess we could be playing Pin the Tail on the Donkey.
I doubt it.
And what do you think that's about?
You pointed to the poster of the tailless donkey. He shook his head. I've never seen anybody play that in real life. The adult announced that the children's under 10 had the first turn on the bounce house. For everyone else, it was time to play Pin the Tail on the Donkey. You had called it. Cove raised his eyebrows. He was surprised for sure.
You were excited and thought it was kind of silly, a little weirded out, fine with the game. Didn't know how this would go. I feel like either thinking it's kind of silly or not knowing how it would go are my two choices.
Well, I think it's a little silly. It was such a kid's game. The fact that this was planned for a party full of teens was a little crazy. You reluctantly joined in the line since that was what you were supposed to do, and you didn't feel like arguing. The donkey in question was a cartoony poster with big eyes that
was
looked
a
more
real
like ping
donkey.
pong balls. It was a real donkey. It was positioned a few feet above the ground on a tree trunk. The teen who arrived first was blindfolded and then spun around. He was nudged to the side and away from the kids so he wouldn't stick someone with the tail instead.
That would be
Yeah,
dangerous.
it's probably a good idea. Yeah. Unfortunately for him, he placed the tail on the donkey's head like some kind of bizarre earring. He wouldn't be winning that far from the target.
You gotta get the butt.
His next opponent did far better by landing it on the donkey's back. The spectators clapped politely and the line moved up. More teens tried their hand at it. Some got closer than others, but no one had gotten it perfect yet. Soon it was Cove's turn. He was blindfolded and spun just like the others. At this point, it was a close match and everyone was watching with bated breath. Cove approached the donkey and stuck the tail on without any hesitation. Cove stood back and removed his blindfold, cheering when he saw how close he was. He turned his head over his shoulder and grinned at you. Your turn.
Shook your head and stepped out of line, or took your turn. We might as well take our turn.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing it.
With the blindfold on, the bright park became utterly dark. As you were spun around, the sounds around you seemed to get louder. At least you could tell the direction of the bounce house from the shrieks of the young children. You stopped spinning and stepped forward, tail in hand. It was time to give it a stab.
Oh. Placed it directly in front of you, to the right, to the left, reached and placed it up, bent and placed it down. Well, we're small, so we wouldn't place downward.
Right, I was thinking that too.
I feel like we should just go for the left. Like I'm imagining that the head is on the right side and the butt is on the left side.
Okay. See, I imagined it the other way around.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
But, like, who knows?
I don't know. Which one you wanted to do?
Let's go with left.
Left?
You pressed the tail into the target and stepped back. You took your blindfold off to check your results. There was some more clapping from the audience. The tail wasn't too far off. Behind you, there was a particularly enthusiastic ooh, and a few people mentioned how close you got. You smiled and looked back at Cove. He seemed amused. His tail wasn't off by much either, and you couldn't tell which of you was winning. They were just too nearby each other.
Oh.
A few more kids took their turn. One girl managed to somehow pin the tail on the opposite side of the tree. I'm pretty sure it had to be on purpose. With the line empty, the game was finally over. The adult running things and started to inspect the donkey. At this point, the sign was more tails than donkey. In the end, somehow, someone you didn't know was announced as the winner. You and Cove both exchanged a look, even though as you clapped politely. Huh. He sighed. He looked back at the board. It was so close, too.
Eased him, shrugged it off. Good game. You were also disappointed. I don't know. I guess either also being disappointed or shrugging it off or think it was a good game. I don't think we should tease him, but
Yeah.
I don't really know if any of
Hi,
these are
GG.
good game.
Yeah. He watched the winner and considered whether to say anything to them. He hesitated, however, and ended up not approaching the team. An older teen walked up, tall enough to tower over you and Cove. She felt a little intimidated by the stern-faced teenager until she started to speak. Her voice was low, but friendlier than her tough frown would suggest.
Teen. Hi, I'm handing out party favors. Do you want one?
She showed you the party hats. She insisted they were the key to a true partying mood. She had two options, either a colorful headband with two tiny party hats arranged almost like ears, or a tiara with a star on it. They were both very festive.
It's okay.
No thanks. You knew the teen hadn't actually glared at him. Her default facial expression just seemed grim.
You wanted one of the headbands, picked a crown, or didn't want one? I feel like if we take one, And, like, say mostly everyone else takes one, and then, like, Cove's the only one without one.
Maybe.
And then that makes him feel weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to go with not wanting one, just so, like, he doesn't end up being the only one without one.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. You wave the offer off with a hand.
Encouraged Cove to pick one and then let her go. Well, I guess if we already said no, then we should just let her go.
Both of you made your decisions, and that was that.
I didn't know they were going to ask that.
Yeah, same. The unknown teenager nodded approvingly at you both and went to pass out hats to more people. After that, the people in charge quickly set up the next game. Teenagers milled about until they were told to find partners. You tried to listen to the rules, straining your ears to listen to the adult announcing what you were supposed to do. It was a simple game. One person in a pair would throw candy while the other had to catch it in their mouth.
That sounds like someone's gonna choke.
Yep. If they caught it, the pair would move on to the next round, where everyone would take a step back and the former catcher would become the thrower.
You could literally do this with, like, eggs or water balloons, and therefore people would probably not get their teeth chipped or choke.
Yeah. The game would continue, the players getting further and further until one set of partners were the only ones left standing, or everyone lost in a round. About half the guests had already found partners. They moved fast. You noticed Cove had his eyes on you. He just stared at you expectantly, and you knew what he was getting at. Neither of you were all that familiar with anyone else here. It'd be the safe choice to pair up.
Obviously, we'd be partner.
Yeah.
Let's do it, partner.
Cool.
Rootin' tootin'.
He beamed and you started wondering around about your respective candy catching capabilities. Two rows of players facing each other formed. Cove tilted his head towards them and you started to head over. Both lined up directly in front of each other. It took a while to pass out the candy. You were handed a small bag of gummies that smelled strongly fruity.
Oh, they're gummies.
You noticed Cove took it upon himself to do a taste test of a red one across from you. They're not bad.
Tried one for yourself. What does it taste like? Should have waited. I want to eat one.
Yeah. You ended up grabbing a purple gummy. It was sweet and you guessed it was supposed to be grape flavor, but it was mostly just really sugary. And then it was time to begin. Cove throws the set to throw first. He smiled nervously, his eyes wide with seriousness. You grinned and Cove's smile looked more genuine and less filled with tenseness. The game was on. The adult in charge shouted for the throwers to go. You and Cove were only a couple feet away from each other. With Cove's careful toss, you caught the candy easily. Like you, most of the players moved on to the next round. There were a few gaps in the rows as everyone took a step back. The round was harder with pairs further apart, but not overly so. It could be done if both partners tried.
Did your best as you tossed it, had fun with it, but still tried. Threw the candy without a care and made sure it missed.
What?
I think we do our best.
Yeah. You carefully plucked a gummy from the bag and felt the weight. You shifted it in your hand a couple times for practice and then told Cove you were ready.
You do that thing where you, like, take it super seriously.
What?
Where they take it super seriously.
Oh,
they,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
weigh the gummy and lick their finger to
Test
see
the wind,
yeah.
Exactly. You went for an underhand throw, careful to aim for Cove's mouth. The blue candy arced and landed perfectly in Cove's mouth. He chewed it twice and smiled widely. You could tell Cove was genuinely pleased to make it through another round. You were happy as well. Next round began, and you took another step back. Cove was even further away now, but he made no K sign. He was in this to win it. Around you, the once packed rows of players had thinned out some. You wondered how many rounds everyone had left in them. Cove swung his arm and made eye contact with you. You nodded, and the green candy flew towards you.
Tried your best to catch it. Casually tried to catch the candy. Refused to have a green candy in your mouth, or you did not try to.
Oh,
no.
Not a green candy.
Ew. No, we try our best.
Yeah. You followed the arc of the candy and opened your mouth wide. It had a slight spin on it, and you tilted your head to the left to compensate.
It had a spin on it.
Yep. You bit down on the candy, grinning with your victorious catch. It tasted sweet and vaguely like a Slurpee. Yeah, Ollie! Cove was thrilled, and he was entirely invested in this game at this point. You and Cove were still in the game. You knew this was the final round. Only a few other pairs were still left. Cove was determined to win, so you could see it in the clench of his jaw, the careful way he watched you.
Oh, you were charmed by his attitude, equally wanted to win, didn't want to let him down. Thought this was kind of funny, or felt nervous under the pressure. I kind of like the top one the best. Like, I like all three of the top ones, but I like the top one the best.
Yeah, let's go with that. You liked having a partner that was so into the game. His determination sparked something in you. Admiration? An answering desire to win? You weren't sure. Cove gave you a firm grin as you prepared to throw. Your fingers grabbed on an orange gummy from the bag.
Not orange.
It felt solid in your grasp.
It was a
even
rock.
if your hand was starting to get sticky from touching all the sugary sweets. Yuck. Cove leaned his face towards you and bent his knees, ready to catch. Time came. You looked at the candy and then Cove.
I wish there was a mini game to do this. Tried your best, threw casually, messed up your throw on purpose. No! We do our best.
Yes. The candy flew like a missile straight towards him. Cove almost stumbled forward trying to get it right, but your aim was perfect. He got it in his mouth.
Hey.
A wide grin spread on his face as Cove victoriously chomped down on the candy. Yes! Along with the cheer, he jumped up in excitement and pumped one arm. A beat passed, and then he realized just how loud he'd been. Cove turned red and brought one of his hands up to his face.
He's really excited.
We got it. You look to your left and then to your right. You see the few remaining pairs walking away, commiserating over their loss. With some shock, you realize that you and Cove are the only ones who made it that round. You won.
We win.
You watched the moment Cove clicked into the same realization. His face brightened like sunshine and he jogged over to close the distance between you. You stepped closer to meet him halfway.
High five, put an arm, jumped into a hug, ruffled his hair, nudged him in a friendly way, or a smile. We jump and hug?
Sure. His eyes went big and he realized you were going for a hug. He smiled and caught you, hugging you back tightly. You'd won this together. He giddily stomped his feet in place in front of you as though he couldn't contain his energy.
Aw.
We did it!
Nice catch. Woo, we demolished the competition. I think any of them is fine, honestly.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to do?
We demolished them.
Heckin'.
Heckin' nerds. The game runner strolled over and merrily gave you both a bunch more candy on top of letting you keep the gummy bags.
Ooh.
It was quite the collection. With the candy toss over, you were going to need something else to do. You didn't have to wait long. You heard someone in the crowd shout that the bounce house was officially open for the older kids. You and Cove shared a look. Cove smiled and you knew he wanted in. You both ran over to the bouncy castle and kicked your shoes off. You crawled into the inflated castle with Cove hot on your heels. There was a couple of other teens inside already. You started to get a feel for bouncing. Cove hopped from the middle to the side and back. Just after you landed from a particularly high jump, someone else snuck in. It was the birthday girl herself. Hi, Miranda.
Hello. Could say hi, birthday girl. I feel like that's the most enthusiastic one.
Yeah. Miranda looked happy. She waved both her hands at you with a megawatt grin.
Megawatt. I hope you're having fun.
She hopped around with her hands in front of her like a kangaroo. It was a surprisingly effective way to clear distance in the bounce house. She then jumped high, kicking both her legs out to the side and touched the tips of her toes with her fingers. Wow. Miranda hadn't run out of tricks yet. She jumped a couple more times, gaining
Whoa.
height before doing a backflip and tucking into a ball.
She's gonna break her neck.
She managed to land on her feet but didn't stick the landing. She tumbled back and fell on her butt. Cove clapped and Miranda inclined her head, almost like a bow. She was back into jumping with no time. You're so good at this. She bounced close enough to the two of you to talk without shouting across the way. Cove's bouncing slowed down to accommodate their
My
conversation.
family gets these every year. And we have a trampoline in the backyard.
That's really cool. I want to do flips too. Nodded along, clapped for her stunts. I feel like you're so lucky is not, it's not a bad thing to say, but you know what I mean? It makes,
Yeah.
it makes it weird. it's almost like saying she's spoiled.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to do like, just say like that's really cool, or I want to do flips too. I wonder if we can do a flip.
I wonder. Maybe we try. Miranda giggled a bit and then her eyes sparkled.
Hey, I can launch someone if you want. If I jump in front of you, then your bounce will go higher. Okay, launch me. Sure.
Miranda leaped over to you, her excitement clear in her face. Cove watched with interest.
Then we broke our neck.
Gigi. She explained more clearly how this was supposed to work. You got ready to bounce on her cue.
3, 2, 1.
The moment she came down, you jumped high. The force of her, just as she had said, helped launch you up. The air rushed past your face and you were coming back down. Your feet hit the bounce house hard enough to help launch Miranda up a little as well. She giggled some more and the two of you took turns bouncing each other up. Cove clapped or offered suggestions, but it was becoming clear that he wanted a turn too. Miranda invited him to join and try to synchronize your bounces to launch Cove up super high. The first time resulted in everyone crashing down on a pile of laughs. By the fifth attempt, Cove managed to catch some serious airtime. Woo! You all had fun bouncing around. You twirled, Miranda did stunts, Cove futilely tried to touch the highest tip of the castle's ceiling. You and Cove chatted to Miranda more than you ever had at school. She was truly the queen of this bouncy castle. Whenever someone did something cool, everyone would cheer. If you fell, the others would help you up. Eventually, more people wanted to take turns in the bounce house, so you and Cove left. As you slipped on your shoes, you saw Miranda get drawn in a conversation with a group of adults. She would be talking to them for a while. You and Cove decided to take a break and hydrate, like everyone else watching this video should. You went to the party table and grabbed some ice water. Cove handed you a party noisemaker he picked up from the same table. He blew on his and it made a funny sound when it unrolled. Cove downed the drink in a couple of gulps. You'd gotten pretty into bouncing after all.
Uh-oh.
You were still sipping on your water when Cove blew on his noisemaker again, then again and again. It was almost a tune. You didn't recognize any particular melody, but a noisemaker also isn't an instrument. The noise cut through the hum of the other party guests, loud and noticeable.
Asked him to stop, started blowing on your own noisemaker, blew your noisemaker back at Cove, or amused by his antics. Definitely not the top one.
Yeah.
Do we blow it back at Cove, or just say we're amused?
Let's do it back. Noisemaker fight.
Mm-hmm.
You blew hard enough to unfurl the paper completely straight. It jutted towards Cove, almost tapping his chin. Cove wasn't going to let that stand. He retaliated and blew his back at you. It nearly touched your nose.
Heck.
It was a game now. Both of you tried to land the hit on the other. Cove managed to get your chin while you scored right between his eyes.
And then we took his eyes out.
Oh, great. You people again.
It's him.
Oh, our favorite boy.
Someone vaguely familiar shouted, and you snapped your head to the side. Cove's noisemaker dropped from his mouth. The speaker stepped up, and there was no doubt it was Jeremy, that mean boy you met at the start of summer.
Groan. Oh, hey, it's the bowl cut kid. You felt very uncomfortable and didn't know what to do. Instantly got angry at his presence, tried to ignore Jeremy being there, and tried being polite. I feel like I want to pick the top one. I feel like the bigger person should pick the bottom one, or maybe the bottom two. But I kind of like just trying to ignore him, maybe?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Maybe he'd wander off if you didn't interact.
Oh, God.
Why are you here? Cove's tone was defensive. You watched Jeremy's face turn slack as if Cove's question was the idiocy above all idiocies. Didn't I already explain this? He hadn't, so both you and Cove exchanged a look. Do you have memory loss, or are you really that stupid? Seriously.
I didn't walk here.
My parents brought me. Apparently, I couldn't just stay inside like I wanted. No, they insisted that I get out and enjoy the day and have fun on vacation, blah, blah, blah. He said enjoy the day and have fun on vacation like some people would say scrub the entire bathroom or listen to an off-key singer for 10 hours. They found a park because I hate the beach. Too bad I also hate parks. It's dirty here. They don't know anything. Oh, and then they saw this stupid party and decided to bother some adults by asking what was going on. They think maybe we could be included. It's moronic.
It's also like a little odd to just kind of like
Yeah.
see someone's party and like more or less invite yourself.
Yeah. Get it now? That's how my parents are. Annoying and embarrassing. Why would anyone want strangers at their birthday? Why can't they ever just leave things alone? He huffed loudly and his eyes shot daggers at some grown-ups that presumably were his parents.
Yeah, that's really awkward. That doesn't sound very bad. All you can do is complain about it sucks to be you. You try to be friendly and welcome Jeremy into the park. He didn't bother trying to respond to that mess. Honestly, like, I agree with him.
Yeah,
I would say that's really awkward.
yeah. You don't have to say it back to me. I know.
I guess there's like a difference
Jeremy's
between like if you're at a park, like with your family, you're just like at the park and you see a birthday party happening and you like know some of the people and like maybe you just kind of like meet in the middle and you talk to them for a little bit.
Yeah, that'd
But,
be a
like,
little different.
I don't know. I couldn't see myself being like a parent and like inviting myself and my kid to some party. I don't know.
That's
A little weird.
Jeremy's eyes slipped away from you to take in the rest of the park for a bit. It was a little awkward. It was possible he didn't know what to do, but then he spoke again.
So dumb.
How many people really go around in those embarrassing party hats? Do they think it's fun or something? How could a human being be so dumb? Jeremy glanced at you and Cove, gesturing to the lack of party hats on your heads. Guess that's one brain point for both of you.
Quick, get a hat. I don't want Jeremy to like us.
Hey, Miranda can have whatever kind of party she likes. There's nothing wrong with it. Jeremy looked up at Cove with an unimpressed face. He was going to be mean. You know, those hats could only make sense on a person like you. What else would go with those terrible eyebrows?
Oh my god.
What's his obsession with Cove's eyebrows?
I don't know, man.
Cove's eyebrows furrowed and he twisted his body to the side. He gave a harshly mumbled reply. Why do you always talk about my eyebrows? 'Cause they're always stupid. Even if you think that, why do you need to say it every time we meet?
Fine.
Fine, I'll say something else then. A moment passed as Jeremy inspected Cove. You shared a look with Cove, having no idea what to expect next, other than more unpleasantness. How'd you get that scar on your arm? Let me guess, you were doing something stupid. Cove gasped and grabbed his wrist instinctively. He looked angry, but his eyes started to water.
You poured your drink on Jeremy, pushed Jeremy, punched Jeremy in the face, drowned out his words with your noisemaker, stood still shocked or teared up. As much as I want to punch him, I don't know if that's the best option, but I do think either, I don't know, because like, I can't quite tell. Like, I know Cove obviously doesn't like him and like has mocked him in the past and stuff, but I don't know at the same time if Cove would appreciate us like physically hurting him. And I know like pouring like, so if I was gonna do anything, I feel like pouring your drink on him would be like hurtful but not physically harmful. So I'm kind of going with pouring your drink, but also since we were just playing with the noisemakers, Cove might think it's funny if like we keep using our noisemaker every time he tries to talk.
Yeah.
And then he just gets annoyed and goes away.
Like that. You're both.
Do.
Dude. You're.
Do.
Dude. It didn't take long for him to piece together that you weren't going to let him speak without interruption.
Stupid.
How stupid. He shut his mouth, though, and finally stopped talking.
Huh. Laughed at his reaction, said nothing. Don't say anything like that ever again. I'm gonna find your parents and tell them what's going on. You're ruining someone's birthday. You're a dick! Oh my god. Oh man. God, I want to. So either we straight up say you're a dick, or I think these two like don't say anything like that ever again, or laughing at his reaction to being so like bleh, you know.
Mm-hmm.
More so, I guess, these two blue ones.
Yeah, don't say anything like that ever again.
I want to call him a dick.
People starting to watch what was going down. Your argument wasn't exactly quiet at this point. Why don't you just leave us alone if we're so awful? Jeremy glared even more and huffed.
Dumbasses.
Whoa.
Talking to you is pointless, dumbasses.
Ugh, now I want to call him a dick.
He stalked off like the last time you saw him, muttering under his breath.
Although, I feel like if we weren't being quiet, then we might have gotten in trouble for saying that.
Yeah. You blew your noisemaker after him with a final long doot.
Ew.
Cove sighed in relief after Jeremy was gone. He relaxed, but only for a moment. He noticed how much attention he'd drawn from the other guests. Luckily, it hadn't gone on long enough to get a real crowd. A concerned adult in blue button-up shirt approached you and asked who that was and if everyone was all right.
It's okay.
I'm fine. Cove looked at you cautiously, asking just as much as the adult if you were okay.
Everything's fine now. You don't have to worry about us.
The concerned adult lingered for a few seconds, but nodded and left you alone. The Jeremy fiasco was officially over. Cove rubbed his eyes, clearly ready to put all that nonsense behind him. Then he started laughing. It was a surprise laugh, breaking out of his chest without any actual joy. It was nervous and disbelieving, and all the complex emotions brought out about by one meeting with Jeremy. I can't believe it. He spoke in fits and starts. The look on his face after you started with the... it was hilarious. How can Jeremy be like that? He shouted at us. He barely knows us. And it was at a birthday party for someone he'd never met.
Agreed, Jeremy is totally nuts. Wish that you had done something more. Hope that you would never see him again. Weren't sure how to feel. Happy Jeremy was gone. Felt that he was so mean. Felt sad that he was so mean. I kind of want to just agree. He's totally nuts.
Yeah.
I don't understand him at all.
Cove seemed to think about his next words carefully before he spoke. I don't think it matters what we do around him. Jeremy's just gonna yell no matter what. You shouldn't worry about it. Do you want to tell your moms about Jeremy? I mean, he always picks a fight. Maybe they'd know how to handle someone like him.
Thanks for asking. I don't really have a problem with, like, I guess bringing it up to the moms later.
Yeah.
I'll let them know
All right.
everything.
Okay.
After all that, you wanted to know the story about his scar. You didn't know the story of Cove's scar, but didn't want to mention it now. Didn't tell you the story when you first knew each other, but he did tell you later on. Kind of like the middle one the most. Didn't know the story, but didn't want to mention it right now.
Yeah. It just felt wrong to try having him explain that at this moment. You could let it go. Jeremy is cruel to target him for it. Finally, he bent over to pick up the noisemaker that Cove dropped when Jeremy appeared. Might be too dirty to use now, but you didn't want to leave it there. He accepted it softly when you offered the little favor back to him. Thanks, Ollie. I like how we can be there for each other. Makes me feel better about that kind of stuff when it happens.
Yeah.
Cove suggested that you should find a seat at one of the tables. It was almost cake time and he wanted to prepare. It was a good reminder that the party wasn't over yet.
There's a free table there. Let's get ready for some cake.
You and Cove tried to settle down after the last event. You took seats across from one another at the park tables. There were a few attempts to chat, but for the most part, you simply watched the adults run around and set up the cake cutting. There was a minor panic when who you assumed was Miranda's dad apparently forgot the lighter for the candles. He and another man went through and started asking if the other adults for matches or lighters. They weren't having any luck until the grim-faced teenager who'd been passing out party hats pulled a green lighter out of the ice cream cooler. Why the lighter was put in the cooler remained a mystery, but with party hat girls find it was time to get things going again. Miranda sat at the head of the longest table. A large chocolate cake was set in front of her. She lit all 14 candles with the cooler lighter with a big smile. The adults started singing Happy Birthday, and the rest of the guests joined in. At the end of the song, Miranda blew out the candles with a dedicated huff. She closed her eyes, and you saw her silently mouth something. Maybe it was a birthday wish. Miranda cut her own slice of cake, then one of the grown-ups took over the cutting of the cake. Another adult passed around plates of cake slices with a scoop of vanilla ice cream to the guests. Eventually, the cake got around to you and Cove. Cove was pleased with the treat in general. The cake looked rich and moist. It smelled quite chocolatey.
Wanted both cake and ice cream, obviously.
Yeah, you can get both.
Yes.
He took a bite of the ice cream. The vanilla wasn't bad, but it was a little bland. The chocolate cake, however, has a rich flavor. Cove then took his fork and started mashing up some of his cake. When the cake resembled a pile of crumby chunks, he started mixing it into the ice cream. The melted parts of the ice cream kind of made it like a chocolate cake soup. Interesting.
Raised your eyebrow, told him you do the same thing, thought it looked gross. I've never done that, but I want to now. You didn't react. Maybe I kind of like this one.
Yeah,
as
let's
a
try it out.
response. How does it taste?
Really good, but it's better with brownies. He grinned and took a bite of his own mix. Cove contentedly chowed down on his concoction. One advantage to his mix is that the ice cream seemed to catch most of the crumbs that would usually fall from eating a cake. Unlike some of the kids around him, Cove's shirt remained clean. You started eating your dessert in earnest. You enjoyed yourself plenty. Cove suddenly put his fork down on his plate and stared up into the sky with a faraway expression. You checked but didn't see anything attention-grabbing. This ice cream is better than those ones in cups, you know, with the little wooden spoons, but I still kind of want that instead. You remember what kind he was talking about.
Oh yeah, like the ones handed out at the barbecue before the fireworks happened.
Right. Cove smiled nostalgically at the thought. You could picture a younger Cove for a moment with the same look in his eyes. You remembered how your mom tried to share with everyone that night.
Offered him a bite of your dessert, asked him if you could have a bite of his dessert. You smiled about the memory to yourself. So that was like a childhood memory, and like everyone was sharing ice cream, so that's why like two of the options are about sharing food. But since he's the one that did like a crazy concoction, I feel like we should ask him for a bite of his dessert.
Maybe, yeah.
Can I have a bite of yours?
Cove raised his eyebrows at your offer.
Oh,
What?
maybe that was, or laugh along. Now it's weird. We laugh.
Yep. Your shared laughter attracted the attention of some of the other party guests. It took a moment to compose yourselves and get back to your dessert. Miranda then started to open her gifts, systematically attacked the mountain of presents like a pro. She checked for any cards and read them loudly before opening a gift. She smiled at every present, including the ones you and Cove got her. You were glad the presents were accepted. It took time, but eventually Miranda got through all the gifts. She was very sweet and polite throughout it all. The party went until the sun began to set. By that point, most of everything had settled down and people had begun to leave. Any of the guests whose parents had stayed for the party were already gone, except for Miranda's family. Only a few kids still waiting for their parents to come get them remained, you and Cove included. Miranda's family were cleaning up, and as a guest, neither you nor Cove were supposed to help with that. Instead, both of you decided to take it easy in the bouncy castle. It was somewhere out of the way where you could casually wait for your ride. Miranda had also elected to hang out with you. You weren't even bouncing anymore. Cove laid on his side with his back to the wall, and Miranda sat across from him with her legs stretched out. You also made yourself comfortable. It was nice and warm in the little building. It also felt like you had some privacy, which was nice. You could all speak openly here.
Thanks for coming.
She looked down, but continued shyly.
It's been really cool to get to hang out with you a little bit.
Thanks for letting me come. I didn't think I'd be invited.
Thanks for me too, Miranda. I wasn't expecting it either. I'm so happy I could come. You shrugged, chose not to respond. I kind of like the first one or the third one.
Yeah. I like the first one. Miranda just smiled a little more. So, did you notice anything happening earlier with some people you don't know showing up? She had to think about his question a little. It was apparent that she didn't have an encounter with Jeremy since there was no instant recognition.
I heard about some things. Some of their parents were talking to my parents when their kid came and forced them to leave the park.
He tilted her head back to the side, finding it weirdly but also not important.
And everyone had cake and ice cream.
Cove smiled uncomfortably. That's good. He was clearly worried that the Jeremy confrontation could have gotten to her. Luckily, it didn't seem that anyone had overheard or passed along Jeremy's cruel words. Cove rolled over on his back and sighed contentedly. Miranda seemed confused, but wasn't going to push.
Got up and started bouncing, laid back and closed her eyes, changed the subject, told her about the ordeal. feel like we're all just kind of hanging out and being like lazy. So I feel like just laying back is the best.
The air-filled floor was comfy, and when you listen, you can feel the vibrations of the blower keeping this bounce house up. The silence stretched between everyone, and you opened your eyes to take a peek at the others. Cove was still relaxing, but Miranda was looking between you two, looking confused. You smiled to yourself and closed your eyes once more. You spent the rest of the time content and dozing until it was time to go home. At the end of the day, you thought it had been quite the party.
It was a good birthday.
Yeah.
I think it was. Too bad it's about to get ruined by summer work.
Well, it's gotta happen sometime, I suppose.
Gotta happen. You stared out the window, watching the scenery pass by as your mom drove down the quiet streets at a leisurely pace. A singer crooned sweetly from the radio, turned low enough that you could block it out if you wanted. You turned away from the window when your mom suddenly spoke up. Well, kids, are you excited to be going to the library? Yeah. Nope. I guess. You don't sound so sure there, Ollie. Mom wasn't wrong. It was what it was, but your real interests lay elsewhere. There had never been a time when you were super excited to go to the library. What about you, Cove? You're a part of the conversation, too.
I like the library, and I can work better there than at home.
Sounds good.
Well, I'm happy this will be of use to you. Just make sure you're not distracted by one another. That would defeat the purpose of the trip. She grinned over at you briefly, so you knew she was kidding and meant nothing by it. Mom refocused on driving, humming along to the radio under her breath. You went back to staring outside. As you passed one street, you caught a glimpse of someone in brightly colored clothing passing out balloon animals. It sparked a faraway memory, and you felt your lips twitching up before unconsciously remembering why. How long ago was it that you and Cove watched the amazing Alexander performing magic tricks? Hey, Cove, do you remember that guy? Or keep the thought to yourself. Why not just talk about it?
Yeah.
Cove waited and you took the moment to elaborate. Alexander, the amazing Alexander. He gave us dolphin balloons for free. At this reminder, Cove smiled faintly.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if he's ever there now.
Maybe we should go more often to check.
Maybe. That was the first time we ever went down to the street together, I think. I miss my balloon. It was a good dolphin for that one afternoon I had him.
Yeah. Hey, Cove. What were you going to name your balloon? You never told me.
Oh. I don't know. I can't remember what kid me was thinking. Probably something obvious like Flipper.
You couldn't help the way your own smile curled up higher at the sentiment. You wanted to say something else but couldn't quite think of what, and so just settled back into your seat. When silence filled the car again, you returned your attention to the window. It was an absolutely gorgeous day. You leaned your face to the sunshine, tempted to close your eyes as the gentle rays warmed your cheeks. Ollie? Huh. You lifted yourself up a bit more, seeing your mom twisting her torso to face you, confused from the front seat of the car. Next to you was nothing. Cove's car door was already open. You had reached the destination before you even realized it. I was asking what time should I pick you two up? 4 should be okay. That should give you enough time to finish your summer assignments, or at least make a large enough dent. Thanks, Mom. You hopped out of the car, remembering to grab your backpack at the last second. Alright then, have fun, you two. Yeah, fun. You weren't going to the library to have fun. You needed to make sure that you understood the material forwards and backwards, or else your grades might not be what you need them to be. The two of you went right to the door of the library. Cove reached it first and tugged it open, stepping inside. He kept it propped open so you could pass through behind him. The air was much cooler inside the building than it had been for a few seconds you spent outdoors. The space was filled with the soft din of papers being moved and whispered voices.
Hey, you seem kind of distracted on the ride here.
Just enjoying the day, excited to see Derek. Wanna walk around for a bit? Definitely not the Derek thing.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what's a better answer.
Maybe just enjoying the day?
Possibly just enjoying the day. I'm wondering though, because like we did have a childhood memory at the library, and I'm wondering if they do walk around, they might like go to the little spots and like talk about memories, because that seems to be what like Ollie's doing.
What?
I'm distracted, so Cove looked dangerously close to rolling his eyes.
The more time we take getting there, the less time we'll have to wait for what we came to do.
He wasn't wrong, plus Derek was waiting for you. Your study buddy was standing at the front of the library by a long rack of magazines. Predictably, he was flipping through one with various sports players on the cover, looking intense enough to burst off the page. His head snapped up when you walked over, beaming widely.
Hey, Ollie. Cove.
Hi, were you waiting for a while?
Not super long.
Derek put the magazine back in its place, then he gestured to the space at his side. Most of the tables were empty, only a few people leafing through books.
There's plenty of room.
In unspoken agreement, the three of you started moving towards the seating area, Derek taking 2 steps for every one of Cove's.
Oh, guess what? I'm pretty sure I've mastered the fake shot. I'll show you some other time.
Derek looked over to gauge the level of interest.
Do you know it? Soccer's not really for me. How does it go?
Derek's eyes flashed with excitement as he explained.
Well, you move the ball like you're gonna go one way, then
He demonstrated by running a few steps ahead, showing off some fancy footwork.
you do it like this, so it does it like that.
You laughed, bobbing your head at his attempt to get the trick across with no ball. Shh. The three of you looked over to the checkout desk. The librarian stood behind it and was wearing a deep frown. Felt bad, were apologetic, or didn't think it was a big deal. I guess maybe the first 2 were fine, but maybe just being apologetic.
Yeah.
Sorry. You mouthed
Also, Derek
sorry.
would be horrible at a library.
Oh my god. You mouthed sorry, and she sighed before turning back to the book she was reading. Derek scratched his cheek, choosing not to let that derail things.
Oops.
So, what are you guys working on?
What weren't you working on? There were some things you had gotten to start with. You had yet to start a single assignment. You had yet to start a single assignment because you didn't feel like it.
Oh, we just kind of got here, right?
Yeah, maybe I kind of like this one. You had just yet to start a single assignment, sadly.
Yeah.
Not that you hadn't tried, it just took a lot of time for you to understand what was being asked. Anyway, you had the assignments you needed to finish in your backpack. Now is the best time to choose which one to start with. Oh god. Math problems or history? Maybe math?
Sure.
The atmosphere was good for studying and you felt motivated to tackle them. There's some summer reading too. I have to go through an assigned book, but I'm going to do that later since it doesn't need extra references or anything.
I've already finished the reading.
Oh?
It's not that long, and it was way more interesting than last year's book.
Good to know. What about you two?
I've got a few worksheets. They look pretty easy, but my school gave us 3 books to read. Can't they stick with just one? I'm doing a timeline for history.
You all found a table close to the tall bookshelves and set up camp. Within seconds, pencils and folders and books were strewn out on the surface. Focused on your work, you doodled. You just looked out the window again. So like the student in me, like the good student in me, wants to just focus on the work.
Yeah, but it's pretty stinky.
Yeah, there was no time to lose. You were at the library with people you knew, but you couldn't afford to let that distract you. You checked the requirements on the homework sheet your teacher had given you, then opened up your textbook to the pages you needed. After some time, Cove shifted in his seat, twisting his back as if trying to work knots out of it. Feeling cooped up?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get up for a while. Okay, I'm gonna stay here. I'm making good progress.
I come with?
Yeah.
You might as well take the opportunity to refresh yourself before getting back to work. The two of you strolled away from where you'd been working. Your eyes roamed over the titles of books as you passed by. Some were dull, some intriguing, and others were just strange, but you didn't spot anything that made you pause and pick it up.
Looking for something?
A reading assignment is more than enough. I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just kind of fun to look at all the titles.
Might go out of here if there's enough time.
His comment reminded you of the clock ticking away. Even after you'd finished your work for the summer, the countdown to the new school year would still be on track. Before you know it, we'll be back at class.
Yeah. We just got out and it's almost here again.
Are you looking forward to going back? Phil gave you a wry smile.
No, I still never want summer to end.
He wistfully let his gaze go distant. He wrapped his arms around himself. You weren't sure if his longing was for the beach or for the concept of summer itself.
Summer means you can do what you want. I like learning stuff, but the way school does it, I want to grow up already.
Cove didn't feel safe knowing it was others who really determined what his life was like. You understood that much.
New classes, new teachers, new people. It's too much.
He raked a hand through his hair before brightening up.
But if we get to be in the same classes, that'd be cool.
I'd like that. A smile spread across his face, crinkling his eyes.
What about you? Do you want to go back to school already?
I don't want summer to end either, probably. Like,
Yeah.
that's probably the best choice. It made you stressed just thinking about it. Cove nodded, obviously getting where you were coming from. There was really no getting away from the topic of school right now. It prompted you to think back to the classes you were in. You pursed your lips. History classes was the one you were looking forward to. English class was enjoyable. Math kept your attention. Science class fascinated you. Wanted to enroll in the art classes. Didn't like any of them. Kind of like the art one or the science one.
Mm-hmm. I think
Which-
the art, maybe.
Art. It wasn't mandatory at your school, but you definitely hope to participate. Oh, we can pick both.
Oh, okay.
You hope there'd be more cool experiments this coming semester. Each lost in your own thoughts, you continued to stroll through the library for a little while longer until Cove caught your attention again.
We should probably head back.
Yeah, let's go. Before you could take a step back, Clove cleared his throat, avoiding your gaze.
Thanks for listening before.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Clove smiled, his cheeks pink. You jerked your head towards where Derek had been left studying. Time to get back to work. Cove and you rejoined with Derek and settled back in as quietly as you could manage. Work continued as normal from there. And then he vanished. The sound of shuffling dragged you out of your head. You looked up, surprised to see Derek packing up and gone. You're done? Derek casually shrugged, but you could tell he felt proud to be the first one finished.
Uh-huh. Told you it wasn't anything hard.
Wish mine was that easy. Was it even worth coming to the library for that, or what are you going to do now? Maybe the bottom one. Like, just ask him what he's doing now.
Yeah.
You wondered how Derek was going to spend his newfound freedom.
I could look over what you're doing. Maybe I've got some tips that'll help.
Nod head yes, no. Do we want his tips?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think he's as bad as we thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
He seems kind of like, if he's did his work that fast, I don't know, he seems kind of smart.
Yeah.
So maybe sure, any tips that he might have.
Sure. You know what? Why not?
Do we want to be really enthusiastic
alright.
and say like that'd be great, thanks, or just like nod?
I think, like, either's good.
Okay.
I gotcha.
With a smile, Derek leaned over your part of the table. He looked some time to get the gist and point you in the right direction before turning it back over to you. Derek leaned on the back of his feet.
Okay, I'm gonna look around while you guys finish. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.
Later on, Cove shifted in his seat, closing his book as he looked over the notes he'd been taking. Glancing away, you contemplated what you had done thus far, too. You had finished everything, had finished most of the assignments. You'd say we were about half and still a long way to go. Maybe either half or most?
Yeah.
Which one?
Let's go most.
You were pleased with what you had accomplished. Next time you could focus on what you had left. Derek's advice made it easier in the end.
You about ready? It's almost 4.
Yeah, I think so. Come on. Both of you gathered up your books, and after returning the ones you'd use for reference to the proper shelves, set off to find wherever Derek was wandered off to. He was in the biography section. His back was to the two of you, one hand above his head and the other supporting himself against the shelf as he strained to grab one of the books. Hey, Derek, we're ready.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
He glanced towards the sound of your voice, then up towards the shelf he was trying to reach. That was a struggle you knew all too well. Want me to get the librarian?
Huh? Oh, nah, it's okay. I just wanted to flip through it anyway.
And then the three of you moved to the front of the library to wait for your rides. I can't believe Cove didn't grab it for him.
Yeah.
He stood close to the window to let a content sigh, feeling the rays warm you from slightly chilly library interior. Stared into space. Got any plans after this? Wish our assignments were more exciting. I want to like stop talking about the assignments. So maybe we ask about plans?
Yeah. Gonna work on my technique. Can't get rusty while school's out.
That answer was inevitable. Technique for what?
Football. How about you two?
You considered the question mostly in case your mom said something penciled in for the evening that you'd forgotten. Nothing planned.
Me neither. Oh, that's my dad's car.
Derek lifted a hand to wave, pushing the door open and heading towards the blue pickup truck waiting in the parking
Talk
lot.
to you later.
See ya, Ollie. Bye, Cove.
You watched Derek jog off before scanning the area for your mom. Did you get everything done? Got lost in your thoughts? Guess we can ask if you got everything done.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only got to get some thicker paper to draw the final draft on. I saw you're basically done.
You smiled, impressed. You felt pretty good about that. I feel like I'll need to come back to the library again before summer's over.
I'll come with you. I still have some stuff I can do.
You smiled at the idea. Despite not working on the same thing, it'd be nice to have some company. I'm good with that. Hey, do you want to do something with me after this?
Oh, sure.
Cove seemed eager towards the offer. You hadn't exactly expected him to say no, but the agreement still made you happy. The two of you smiled at each other. It wasn't long before you spied your mom's car coming down the road. Oh, there she is.
All right.
Time to go then.
You climbed into the car, sliding into your usual seat and buckling the belts. Hey, kiddos, did you get a lot done? Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. The car shifted into action and you watched as the library shrunk into the distance. It wouldn't be the last time you saw it this summer, but at least you knew you were going to have company. You fielded questions from Mom while you tried to juggle a conversation with Cove. When she learned you two were planning on returning, she immediately offered to give you a ride next time. You continued to answer Mom's questions about what you'd been working on and told her about your plans to stick with Cove after getting back. But soon enough, the trip was over. You had arrived back at your neighborhood. Cove had run over to his house real quick to drop off his stuff. You also made a pit stop to put your backpack away before heading out again. The two of you regrouped in the middle of the road, halfway between your houses. With everything wrapped up, you could now freely enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Your conversation resumed as both began walking down the street together. The afternoon came and went, dinner was eaten, and you were cleaning up the dishes left behind from it. Cove had elected to stay for the meal today. He passed you a couple of plates to rinse in the sink. Even though he didn't have to, Cove asked to do at least something to help. You scrubbed the last of them and let out a satisfied sigh. Okay, they're done. I'm going upstairs now. You addressed your guest for the evening. Are you gonna come with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to go back till later.
Take it easy, kids. Thanks to you for the help. When you got back to your room, you noticed your backpack from earlier. You figured it would be best to unpack the stuff you needed before going to bed. Cove plopped on into your desk chair, and it spun around a bit as he got comfortable. He watched you contently as you walked across the room. He didn't need or expect you to try entertaining him constantly. It was just nice to be near each other, even when nothing was going on. You hefted your bag up into the bed. It sunk into the comforter. With that, you started to sort through the books and paper packets. Not all of it were things you need anytime soon. A small pile of the most important assets began to grow at the side of your backpack until you'd gone over it all. You had actually finished flipping through the contents, but that wasn't all of your work. You instinctively pulled the opening closer to you and peered inside. A second look through commenced, and then a third, and then you began to open a smaller pocket. You were missing your math assignment.
Ollie?
By this point, Cove could tell something was wrong. That was part of your summer work that you had gotten done, and now it was gone. It hadn't been that noteworthy before, but the bag wasn't really zipped when you first began to look through it. The work could have fallen out somewhere if you had it in the first place. You were upset by the revelation, but made yourself stay calm, started to panic. Shrug, stress level shot up. Think positively, felt paralyzed. I would probably panic.
Maybe a little bit.
The assignment could be anywhere. You were never going to get it back. It's gone, and now you were going to have to replace everything you did for it. My math work isn't in my backpack. At your word, Cove jumped out of his seat.
Oh, crap. Is there somewhere we could look?
The bag was kind of open, so he winced sympathetically. That left a lot of options for where it might be, most of them bad. You made a sudden bolt for the other side of your room. You started to scour the spot the backpack was originally left in. With nothing in sight there, you expanded the search to the rest of the space. Cove did his best to stay out of your way while keeping an eye open for your missing work. It was a frantic and ultimately fruitless effort. Your assignment wasn't here.
Let's check downstairs. It might still be in your house someplace.
Fine.
How are you?
Why, hello again. Is everything all right? You told your mom what was going on, gave a rambling explanation of the situation, or answered her with a raised voice. I think they're all basically the same thing, but
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm gonna go with the middle one to, like, tell her what's going on, but it's, like, scrambly.
Yeah.
No, it was, I did it, but when I was getting it out, it wasn't there, and I
What?
don't know. What? My schoolwork is missing. This was definitely getting to you. You have things that you want to do, that you need to do, and instead you have to worry about this.
So sorry.
Sweetie, I'm so sorry. What's missing? An assignment for school from the library today. Mom's eyebrows raised with concern at the answer. That's a pickle. I'll call right now. I think they might still be open. Thanks, Mom. Don't worry about it. That's not going to help. You let her go with... I would just say thanks. Like, I mean, they're helping.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Just leave it to me. Oh, honey, can you tell us if there was anything you noticed? You were with Ollie, right?
I saw the assignment when Ollie had it out at the library. I don't remember them putting it away, but I'm pretty positive there was nothing left on the table when we were done.
He spoke resolutely. Before now, he hadn't considered that something might have been left behind. You had felt the same when leaving, though it was hard not to second-guess things now. Your mom re-entered the scene a few minutes later. The look on her face was not promising.
Well,
So I got a hold of one of the librarians. They don't have any papers with your name on it. Not that they could see anyway. I'm sorry. Thanks for trying.
Yeah.
Of course. Sorry it was a bust. It's not your fault. I think Derek has it.
I was just gonna say that. I think Derek took it.
Or it's in Cove's backpack. Like, not that Derek took it on purpose, but I think someone put it in their backpack by accident.
Oh. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Ollie, hey, let's go over to my house. I can check my bag. Maybe I took it when we were packing up and didn't notice.
Yeah, good idea. You got the impression this wasn't just about another place to look. You were stressed over the situation here. He was trying to give you an out. Let's go. Cove nodded and made his way to the door. Your mom stood by with creased eyebrows. Take care, kids. Good luck. Bye, moms. You briskly made the trip across the street, and in less than a minute you were going through the threshold of Cove's house. Cove had been in a rush earlier today, too. His backpack was tossed on the couch without a thought. No one had moved it since then.
You can sit down or anything. I'm gonna look.
He lifted up the backpack and unzipped it in a fluid motion. You were left to wait as he rooted around inside an unexpected level of seriousness. There was no way you could relax. You were actually calming down now.
I don't know. I feel like it could honestly go either way, just depending on like the thoughts about like if Cove or someone else could have it, like Derek.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like there's hope that it could be in these places, but at the same time, I mean, it's still gone.
Right. So are we still, like, frantic?
Maybe a little bit.
You leaned closer, trying to get a peek into what he was seeing. Every second of not knowing made you more tense. Your impatience didn't go unnoticed. He tore through the contents rapidly. Until Cove's eyes drifted from the opening of the bag and traced the length of the room's floor. His arms were still tucked away inside, but the search was over. Your heart sank. It was obvious there was not much of a chance Cove somehow had it this whole time. Still, you wanted to hope. Finally, Cove lowered his backpack to the floor while slipping his arm out, and he wasn't empty-handed. Cove extended a few papers your way.
Here.
Your eyes flickered down at the assignment and then went right back up to his face. That's your copy. In the almost silent room, you could hear the slight crinkling of papers as his fingers gripped tighter. His expression was just as firm.
No, it's yours.
That's cheating, are you sure? Like, handwriting also? Like, people aren't that dumb? So, I don't want to take it, because I feel like taking it would make things worse for Cove, but also could be worse for just both of us, because then 2 assignments would have Cove's handwriting, because Cove would probably just redo it.
I was thinking that, like, Ollie would just copy the part they got up to and give it back to Cove.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know what the math assignment was like. Why not?
I mean,
An assignment and grades, they're important to you, and, you know, you're important to me, so...
He flatly dropped the papers at your feet, refusing to meet your eyes.
I think I did pretty good with it. The marks shouldn't be bad.
Thanked him for what he was trying to do, hugged him. You insisted he shouldn't go through with it. Like, I like the top one, like thanking him for what he's trying to do, but I don't know if that means accepting it.
Yeah.
Same with the hug, is like, does that also mean you're accepting it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. They're not very clear with that.
I think we should just insist that he doesn't do it.
Maybe.
So that's not how we should deal with this. Cove's consideration made you feel good. You felt terrible about this all. You were teary-eyed over the gesture. Kind of like any of them.
Yeah,
Which one?
they're all pretty good. Maybe the consideration made you feel good.
Even if the situation was still bad, you were touched at how much he cared for you.
Missing assignment is something that doesn't bother me. I mean, you've known me long enough to see what does upset me.
The statement had started out lighthearted, but it quickly shifted to one much more serious.
You were always there.
Your eyes met and his face was full of affection. Then the moment was interrupted by the piercing ring of the Holden home phone. You wordlessly stared at one another and raised brows. Cove's mouth formed a tiny frown. Kyra appeared from the hall on the far side of the living room, summoned by the noise.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, Cove. Hi, Ollie. I didn't know you were here. She strolled on past. Her eyes followed her. Cove's mom answered the call, giving a chipper greeting to whoever was on the other end. A few ahas and mhm later, Kyra thanked the person and placed the phone down once more. Ollie, that was your ma. She said your stuff was in the car.
What?
Really?
That's what I was told. Now I'll just return to the guest room. You can have your privacy. Cove's face cycled from shock to sour as Mom made her escape, laughing. He shook the interruption off and refocused on you.
They've got it.
You were so relieved, embarrassed, couldn't believe it, didn't know how to react. Like, I feel like relief would be the best.
Yeah, 100%.
It was back, you had your work, and that's all that mattered. They've got it. Cove smiled crookedly and shrugged one shoulder.
We should probably head to your house. Your moms might want to talk to you.
Yeah, my parents really care about me. They had kept searching even after you left, and because of all that, it worked out. Cove nodded in agreement. Cove, it means a lot that you stuck with me, thanks. He brightened up with sparkling
Don't worry
eyes.
about it.
Anytime, Ollie.
While stepping toward the door together, there was a thought in your head that you knew to be true. You were going to be there for one another when it came to the big things and with the small things. Aw, yay!
Hey,
Heck in.
that was good.
Well, I'm glad it got found because I would definitely be in a panic. That's like,
Same.
have you ever had an assignment you were doing on, like nowadays I do things on Google Docs, but back in the day when you did it on like a Word document and like the power goes out and so the document hasn't been saved in a very long time or ever. That has happened to me before and I like cried because I had to redo whatever I was doing. I don't necessarily think it was like a paper, but it was a project that was on the computer back when I was in college, and the library lost power and I hadn't I haven't saved it, and that's honestly probably what triggers my like chronic saving in like everything that I do, whether it's like like an assignment or I'm writing something or a video game. Like I chronically save.
Yeah,
So,
that's understandable.
I have some save PTSD, but same deal with like the physical assignments. Like if you lose something physical, I totally sympathize with panicking about that.
For sure. Yeah.
Man, so we have one more episode left. Well, like 2 mini episodes, but one more video of
Yeah.
teenage, and then we'll end the summer, and then we'll be in older adolescence.
Or maybe it'll be the ultimate twist. We go back and relive our childhood again, like we age backwards.
We go back in time.
Oh, what's happening?
The
I can
titles.
just picture the shrinking.
Oh gosh. The titles of the next 2 sound like they're gonna be a little spicy
Yeah.
or
I
interesting.
like Escapade.
Escapade and Soiree. I'm
Very
excited.
posh.
Yeah. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks, Rob, for reading.
And thank everyone for watching, and thank you for having me on here. And like, we thank you even more if you hit like and subscribe.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.